to all of the families that have come from all over this nation who've had to bear the pain of their loved ones being killed and being, in some cases, mercilessly killed by those that are paid to protect them. But they did not lose the faith. They did not back down. And they come to Washington to keep fighting for justice. This is not about politics. This is about the shedding of innocent blood by police all over America and saying enough is enough. We come to you today after 15 days in New York of having 1,200 people go to the police headquarters and every day perform acts of civil disobedience. We live in a city, Martin, whose mayor's lips drip with the words of interposition and nullification. Just like your father spoke about Southern governors 38 years ago. Tomorrow, it'll be 31 years since Martin Luther King Jr. was shot down in Memphis, Tennessee. But we come to the nation's capital to tell you it'll take more than one bullet to stop a movement. You can kill the dreamer, but you can't stop the dream. You can kill the drum major, but the band still marches on. You can remove a leader, but he taught his followers how to keep on moving. And in Dr. King's name, we come to Washington to tell the president and the Congress that we will not sit by and watch the killing of our people continue from criminals in blue uniform. We are not anti-police. We're anti-police brutality. In fact, we are the ones that are really against crime. But we're against all criminals. Not just criminals in blue jeans, but criminals in blue uniforms. Anytime police can shoot an unarmed man and shoot at him 41 times and hit him 19 times, and they have the arrogance to not even come forward with a story, then it's time for us to go back to the streets. But it's not only Amadou Diallo, it's Elliott in Prince George County. It's Bailey in Kings County, New York. It's Miller in Riverside, California. It's Johnny Gamage in Pittsburgh. And what we're going to do is connect the dots, and we coming to you, Mr. Clinton, and saying all over this nation, we're going in the 21st century, rocking America against police brutality. Let me remind you, Mr. President, some of us came here to defend you. Don't forget, Mr. President, when you were under attack by the same right-wing law enforcement community, you didn't turn to Jesse Helms, you turned to Jesse Jackson. Don't forget, Mr. President, that we gave comfort to your family. We stood by your family because we felt what they did was wrong. But now there are families in Washington tonight that are crying that needs the White House to stand up for them like we stood up for the White House. Don't you turn deaf ears, Mr. President. You there because we stood for you. Now it's time to stand up for us. We come to Washington because they're more concerned with Monica Lewinsky's dress than Mrs. Diallo's son. They're more concerned with personal scandal than public abuse of power. And it's time for us to do what we did 30 years ago. Let us not forget the White House and the Capitol, they did not decide to stop segregation. They didn't decide to stop apartheid. They didn't decide to give blacks the right to vote. They did not decide to stop the lynching in the South. It was because students and senior citizens got up and went to jail in Birmingham and Selma, Mississippi, and Atlanta, and they changed the climate of this country. And what we need to do is do what we did in New York. I told Brother Martin King III, we need to take a day where all over America, in 25 cities, we go to our police precinct. We go to the main police headquarters. In Riverside, it's Miller. In Pittsburgh, Johnny Gamage. In Brooklyn, it's the case of Bailey. All over America, and we need to have National Day of Civil Disobedience. We need to close this nation down. We need to let the word go forward that you can't preach morality in Yugoslavia and ignore immorality in Philadelphia. You can't preach morality in Yugoslavia and allow police to kill in New York City. You can't send our boys to Yugoslavia and we're afraid for them to walk the streets in Chicago. You got to have one standard everywhere. So we must nationalize this fight. In New York, we come strong. The Guinean Association is here. These brothers and sisters that came to America under false advertising, they ought to sue for false advertising. They told them this was the land of the free and the home of the brave. They told him this was the land of opportunity. Then when they got here, they wanted to know what they were doing here. You built the statue and put it out in the harbor of New York and said, bring me your tired, your huddled masses that yearn to be free. Who would have thought they would have had to bring their children home with 19 bullets in their body? How do we explain to people around the world, Abner Louima that came here seeking a better life and ends up with a plunger shoved up his rectum, not in a back alley, but in the police headquarters. And no policeman would come forward and talk about his brutality. No, in New York, we come because we're in a land where the present mayor thinks that he can use the tactics of bullying us and intimidating us. They take our lawyers' licenses, like Alton Maddox that stands with me, that dare defend those that are abused and afflicted. But I want you to know that they have done nothing but make us more determined. That's why not only tomorrow is it King Day, it's the day we remember, as Pam Africa said, how a political prisoner bared his cross, went to Calvary, and rose again. I want you to know, Giuliani, I want you to know all over this land that you shot us down, you've beat us, you've killed us, but we shall rise again. We are coming up again. When you see the students are back out, when you see blacks and whites and Latinos and Asians, Jews and Gentiles, Muslims and Christians, we are locking arms. It's time for the resurrection. It's time for the spirit of Martin Luther King and Malcolm X and Fannie Lou Hamer and Harriet Tubman and Sojourner Truth. You looking at the resurrection. We're going to roll back the stone of police brutality. We shall rise again. We shall rise again. We shall rise again.